Which non-roster invitees are we keeping an eye on in spring training? We'll answer that and more coming up here on Mailbag Monday. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Monday, February 10th, 2025. This is Tony Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'll be opening up the mailbag like we do here every Monday and answer some of your Mariners questions. But before we do that, quick shout out to our title sponsor today, FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. And if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, as always, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out, of course, is click the link in the description of this episode. So, if you didn't know from all the literal millions of tweets that said it last night, baseball is back now that the Super Bowl is over. Pitchers and catchers are reporting across the league as we are speaking. The Mariners are going to have their pitchers and catchers report on Wednesday, officially. So spring training is here. Baseball is here. And as such, Colby and I are back to 5 shows a week here on Locked On. So be sure to join us every single day. So kicking us off here on Mailbag Monday is our good buddy Jake, who wants to know what non-roster invitee outside of Cole Young are you most excited to watch spring training?
This is the most uninteresting spring training roster that I can remember. Because everybody who we know is good, obviously, who cares? You're not there to watch those guys. You're not tracking those guys all spring. And you look at the NRI guys outside of Cole Young, there's nothing. There's there is no minor leaguer position player who has signed that has really any shot of impacting this club, with the possible exception, I guess, of a guy named Nick Dunn. That's only because second base is so shallow, and Dunn's like a 28-year-old quad A guy who's produced at AAA because, frankly, he's just a veteran who knows how to hit AAA pitching. Cool. So you have that guy. There's nobody else on the offensive side of things that is remotely interesting. There's always a semi-interesting group of bullpen arms that the Mariners bring into camp every year. So really it's, pick your favorite arm out of that group, and that's the guy that you want to watch. I guess for me, that would be Medina because I want to see that change up, see how that looks. But, aside from that, Drew Pomerantz, cool. Maybe there's some upside there, but he hasn't pitched in the big leagues in 4 years. Neither has Neftali Feliz. So, you're just kind of looking at these guys there's just not a ton that's exciting here, who has a shot to impact the 2025 roster. There's always guys, like Harry Ford, is an interesting guy, as he is pretty much every spring. And then there's, the Hunter Cranton types, Brandon Garcia, types, technically non-roster invitees. So there's guys like that. So, but in terms of guys who actually could, be a big help to the 2025 roster, it's pretty much Cole Young, and then, one of the bullpen arm piles, and then it's Garcia and Evans. That's about it. So it's just not a very fun or exciting group of players to look at this spring. It's we all know Julio and Cal and Luke and Randy, whatever. Go watch those guys. They're fun. But in terms of who is this year's, to be fair, I guess most years the Mariners don't have that guy in spring training that you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting to see. But there's no Ty France yet on this minor league list. So sure. There's not even a Gavin Sheets where you're like, oh, maybe the Mariners can figure something out there and help them out. But very boring. It's going to be a very boring spring training, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just is what it is. It's just
there aren't a lot of roster battles except for, minor roles. Like if Troy Taylor isn't able to make it back healthy in time for opening day, then there's a bullpen spot that's open. But the other 7 spots in the bullpen seem to be accounted for already. Mm-hmm. And then, who kind of fills out the Mariners bench, right? We'll talk a little bit about the second base role a little later on. We have a question about that. But yeah, again, there aren't that many position or just roster battles in general heading into spring as things currently stand now. Injuries could obviously happen. Hopefully not, knock on wood. But yeah.
God forbid the Mariners acquire somebody who might, challenge for a 26-man spot before opening day. But short of that, I feel like we know who the 26 are.
All right, Jeff wants to know who will win the second baseman job and finish out the bullpen. So, yeah, just kind of talked about that. The last bullpen spot, again, assuming that Troy Taylor, for a second, isn't able to make it back healthy in time. He's dealing with this lat strain. It could go to literally anyone. It could be Cody Bolton. It could be Hagen Danner. It could be Blas Castano. It could be Will Klein, Casey Legumina, or it could be any of these NRIs, right? It could be Shintaro Fujinami, Adonis Medina, Drew Pomeranz, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Could even be someone that they end up bringing in that isn't on the roster right now or isn't on the NRI list right now. So hopefully. Second base, though, is kind of interesting. We've talked a little bit about this. It just depends on what they want to do with Dylan Moore, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even if... Like looking at this roster, though, even if Demo is going to essentially float like he has in the past, it does seem like most of the opportunities, though, are still going to come at second base for him. Mm-hmm. So it really comes down to just how much do they want Ryan Bliss to play? How much are they actually willing to commit to seeing what they have in him to start the year? Because unless, Cole Young knocks their socks off in spring, which maybe it happens, but unless he does that, I would say like the optimistic outlook for Young making his major league debut is probably June.
Yeah,
maybe May. Like maybe it's like a service time thing, and so like once whatever it is, like April 27th, whenever the deadline is for that, once that passes, maybe at that point he can get called up at any given point. But at the very least, you're looking at a month of a bridge between, opening day and whenever Cole Young arrives for you to at least gather information on Ryan Bliss. So I don't know. Now that you've kind of thought about this a bit more, or, we've had more time to kind of settle on like, all right, this might be the roster. How do you think this might shake out?
I think ultimately Dylan's going to get the first crack at second base and that into the regular season, not just, he went, 10 for 55 in spring training. Like, he shouldn't play second. I mean, like he's going to be the opening day second baseman. He's going to get some run there. I think it's how it's most likely to play out. It is possible Young just, pulls a Julio and forces his way onto the big league roster, but that seems awfully unlikely. So yeah, I think Dylan's going to get first crack at it. I think you'll see Dylan still kind of fulfill that roving infielder. So like when JP gets his first day off, Dylan Moore will play shortstop, and we can surely assume that Polanco is going to get scheduled days off, and at that point I think Moore will move to third, and I think that's where Ryan Bliss will get his opportunities. But I do think Dylan Moore is going to get the first crack at it. He's the veteran. He's got the best track record, in the majors of any of them. And I think he's going to run with it pretty much until they think Cole Young is ready. And then Ryan Bliss will have to be very opportunistic. When he gets the opportunities, he's going to have to perform if he's going to push Dylan Moore for any serious playing time. That's how I think it shakes out right now. But things can change over the next 6 weeks. And it's one of the only interesting things to track all of spring is what's going to happen at this spot. But right now I would say Dylan Moore is the heavy favorite to be the opening day second baseman and really the everyday second baseman, at least for the first couple of weeks to months of the 2025 season.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out, but that's probably something that we're also going to be talking about tomorrow. We're going to be talking about some interesting storylines for the Mariners heading into spring training.
There are none.
Colby, the optimist as ever. All right, so we are going to be answering more of your questions here in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you once again by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is super easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Colby getting on to me about my ands, my introing of the next segment and all that. Ross wants to know, Pacoda projection has us in third place in our own division on the fringe of wildcard contention. Is that how you guys see us at this stage? Yeah, roughly. I mean, like I said this last week, I think this team is probably a 84 to 86 win team, which means like if things go really well, then they could be like a 93 win team, and if things go poorly, they could be like a 77 win team. Like injuries happen or just guys don't perform the way that we think that they're going to, all that. So being kind of just in the mix, like I don't think there's a massive gap between them and the Rangers and the Astros, even though I really like what the Rangers have done this offseason. I still think that the Astros, even after trading a top 10 player in baseball in Kyle Tucker, they're still going to be very competitive this year. But I would say that's roughly in the same range that I'm in.
And I would say that I couldn't care less about Pacoda projections or anything like that. Like,
of course,
look, at the end of the day, they're like within 3 games of each other. That's a tie. That is a tie in any projection model. So are the Mariners about as good as the Rangers and the Astros? Yeah, I think they probably are. Is that a good thing? No, because it wouldn't be that hard to be better than them, but here we are.
Yes.
So like Pacoda, I can't say Pacoda is wrong. Because, like, could the Mariners be the third best team if everything breaks a certain way? Like, yeah, sure, absolutely. Could they be the best team out of those 3? Yeah, they could. Like, they're certainly. Could they be the wild card team? Yeah. Could they be the first team to miss again? Yes. And again, this is all feeds into the frustration of the entire offseason is that they put themselves in this position instead of being, the clear favorite, which they would have done with like another $15 million. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I think like I don't need Pacoda to tell me that this is going to be a 3-team race. I don't need Zips to tell me this is going to be a 3-team race. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be a 3-team race. It's probably going to come down to the wire. We'll see. Maybe one of these teams just deals with a ton of injuries and it kind of knocks them off the pace, like kind of the Rangers last year. But yeah, I do think these are 3, probably 85 to 90 win teams, somewhere in that range. And I could see any of them winning the division. I could see any of them winning the wild card, and I could see any of them kind of bottoming out and being, 78 win team this year. So yeah, I guess Pacoda is technically right.
Big Lob wants to know, I'm going to a couple of Mariners spring training games with my dad in March, one in Peoria and one in Surprise, Arizona. I've never been. Have you guys been? What is a can't miss for a spring training first timer? So I was there a total of 1 day. I experienced a total of 1 game. It was at the very end of spring training in 2023. So yeah, I am not the most seasoned spring training visit, if you will. But Colby was there for what, a couple weeks? 2023 as well?
Like
A
5
week?
days.
Oh, really? Okay, you were there
5
for
to
a
7
week.
days, somewhere in that
Yeah,
range.
yeah. So you're a bit more seasoned, not really, but a bit more than
really.
I am, at least. So any tips for Big Lob here?
Sure. Be prepared to drive on the worst road you've ever experienced in your life.
For real.
In terms of like spring training, like, no, the games are pretty boring, mediocre at best games.
Jeez.
Well, actually, it kind of depends. When are you going? Like, are you going in the middle of spring? Because
Uh-huh.
at that point, the boys are playing like 7 innings. They're getting their
Mhm.
3, 4 at bats. You're going at the beginning. The good thing there is you get to see a lot of the younger guys play 5, 6, 7 innings, which kind of a double edged sword because you're paying kind of major league prices to watch minor league baseball. It is not that as cheap as you would think
Mhm.
to go to those games. Um, yeah, good job avoiding whatever the hellhole the Angels play in, whatever that ballpark is. That
Was
is
that
the worst.
Mesa?
I think so. That is the worst facility. I would tell this to anybody. Like, if you're going to have a day where you don't go to the ballpark, skip the Mesa game. It's a high school ballpark that they play in. It's a joke. Um, so you could skip that ballpark. But no, I like sitting in the lawn on the lawn. Those are really good seats and just kind of first come first serve and kind of spread out with the blanket, and it's just very casual and relaxed. So if you can get lawn seats, I would recommend that. But
Mm.
obviously, I don't know if your dad can handle those. That up down. Maybe you need a seat back. But yeah, no, it's for the most part, it's pretty fun. You do see some weird like stuff with the fly balls get a little dicey sometimes, and the wind can really kick up. So you do see sometimes some cartoony type of baseball things. But no, I think enjoy yourself. Lots of sunscreen applied probably every 2 innings. Reapply just to be safe.
Mm.
Don't forget your earlobes. Okay. Um, but yeah, no, have fun. I recommend the lawn seating. The Peoria complex is very nice.
Yeah.
Where's the other place he was headed?
Surprise, Arizona. Did you
It's
go
pretty
there?
solid. It's a pretty solid one. The
Yeah.
best one is the Rockies. I don't remember where their spring training is. That is the best facility. It's gorgeous.
Mm.
Great place to watch a game. Wear a hat, right?
Yeah.
Sunscreen, wear sunglasses, and just enjoy yourself. It's
Yeah.
typical ballpark food. I don't have any like food recommendations for you. I did go to Matt's Big Breakfast if you're looking for kind of a place to go before the game.
Mm.
Pretty solid breakfast restaurant, and then for like real like food recommendations and all that stuff, you might want to tweet Ryan Divish or Ben
Yeah.
Ranieri.
Leo's Island Barbecue.
Yeah.
I haven't had it, but everyone I've talked
Mhm.
to that's gone down there says it's amazing.
Now I don't know if like I don't know where you're from, the person that, so maybe you know this already, but In-N-Out overrated.
Is overrated, but if you're looking to not spend a ton of money and just
Yes.
get a burger,
Mhm.
In-N-Out does the job.
Highly
Yeah.
recommend you skip the fries. They are straight up garbage.
They're pretty bad. They're pretty bad.
They're packing peanuts that are always cold. So don't
Yeah.
get the fries. Get a milkshake, get a burger,
Yeah.
but skip the fries. Go to Matt's Big Breakfast. Sit on the lawn if you can, and lots of sunscreen, lots of water. Your body, if you're from the Northwest right now, your body is not ready for the extreme shift you're about to experience. And don't forget the earlobes
Sure.
when you sunscreen up.
I would also say get to the backfields early because you'll probably catch
If you're an
a lot
autograph
of
hound, yeah.
great place for autographs. Great place to just like chop it up with some Mariners players if you want to. Like I had some conversations with guys. You might even catch like the really young dudes that are going to be playing in like the ACL and low A. Like they might be playing in a game against like the Padres.
Oh yeah, I saw
guys.
one of those. Kind of looks
I
like a pickup game almost.
I saw Laz. I saw Gabriel Gonzalez.
Pretty sure I saw Michael Arroyo get an at bat in one of those games.
Yeah, so that's really cool. You might see that. At the very least, you'll see guys getting workouts in and all that. And again, you might be able to get some autographs or at least talk to some people. And then you might see like Like I got to see Brian Wu throw a bullpen. That was dope.
Have fun. Sunscreen, lather up. Get there about 2 hours early. You can see all the stuff on the backfield. And that's the nice thing about lawn seating too, is that just kind of chill, lay out in the sun a little bit, watch some ball. It's a very chill, relaxed atmosphere. So yeah, enjoy yourself.
You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Got a couple more questions here on Mailbag Monday before we get out of here. Brandon wants to know, Brandon Garcia going to be the leverage left-handed pitcher in the pen? And also, if Cole Young rakes, do they start him on the roster for the first-round pick considerations? So let's talk about Brandon Garcia first. Yeah, that sinker, slider, cutter combination that he has, that should play up pretty well out of the bullpen. I like his odds of being able to impact the bullpen more than like a Gabe Spire or a Taylor Saucedo. So yeah, of the options that they have currently in house, I would say that he has the likeliest shot of being the leverage lefty in the pen. But that's definitely not a guarantee that he will be.
I think in terms of the lefties, I think people are forgetting how good Gabe Spire was in 2023.
He is.
Now he's got to be healthy, right? That's the important part. But I think you have the leverage lefty out of your pen if Gabe Spire is healthy.
Okay.
Do I think Garcia could be another one? Yeah, and I think there's a shot Garcia is also going to be really good against lefty or righties with that cutter slider combo. Yeah. So yeah, there's a shot, but I don't think he's going to start that way. I think the Mariners probably keep him stretched out to some degree, and then when they decide that he can help us the most out of the bullpen, that's when they'll make that switch like they did with Edwin Diaz, like they tried with Logan Evans last year.
Yeah. Then Cole Young. We've already talked about, he would have to really impress the club to make the opening day roster. I mean, Justin Hollander back in December, I think it was December, said like he's going to start the year in Tacoma. Now, things have maybe change in terms of their outlook of how like the infield was going to play out.
Exactly how they wanted it to play out. Yeah, they told us so like 3 days ago.
So yeah. So
they don't have Hole at second base. They have Cole Young.
Right. So yeah, so maybe now Young has more of a shot to make the opening day roster than he did a few months ago. But I would say that it's still
off season.
Yeah, I would say that it's still very unlikely.
Yeah.
I would also say that bringing him up for the first round pick potential would be foolish because right now we're looking at like Jason Dominguez, Jacob Wilson, Roman Anthony, Colby Mayo.
Is Dominguez still eligible for that award? Good Lord.
And he's leading the every book that I looked at. He's the leading.
That's a bad bet, but okay.
There. Yeah. So
yeah, Cole Young just doesn't seem like a rookie of the year type of player. Like he's not going to put up the flashy numbers. He's not going to steal 20 bags or 20 home runs or, score 100 runs or anything like that. It'd probably be very solid if he did make the opening day roster. My guess is that the Mariners, like he would literally have to blow them away because I think the Mariners are smart enough to look at it and be like, look, he's not Julio Rodriguez. The odds of him winning rookie of the year, in a normal year aren't that good. Whereas Julio's odds of winning rookie of the year, very good because he's that type of guy. So yeah, I don't think that's going to factor in. I guess they could try it and then send him down if it doesn't really start off well. I mean, there's not much of a harm in that, but I do think ultimately that no, they're not going to, I don't think they're going to service time him and call him up in mid-April, and do that. Cause if that was the plan, then you might as well just call him up, on opening day and take that shot. But I don't think that's factoring into their decision-making at all, to be quite honest. So no, I don't think if Cole Young is on the opening day roster, it's not going to be because the Mariners think he can get them another draft pick. It's going to be because he blew their doors off.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a factor for Seattle.
All right. Last question of the day comes from Adam. Who hits the first spring training home run? So I believe last year, Samad Taylor was the guy that hit the first Mariners home run in spring training. Mm-hmm. So should we go with a little weird one here? I mean, it feels easy to go with a weird one, but also it could just be like Julio.
Right. Like it's probably going to happen on the first game, but how many starters are going to play in that first game? The Mariners really slow play their lineup, which has worked out fantastic the last couple of years, gotten off to some real hot starts offensively. So I'm sure they'll do the same thing this year. So like, is Julio even going to play, or are we going to get like one of those games where it's like Spencer Packard is the starting right fielder for the Cactus League opener? Like, you know, there's one starter and it's JP Crawford in the opening day lineup for the Cactus.
That's actually kind of a good call, Spencer Packard.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. I was thinking JP, but okay.
Or JP, yeah, JP as well.
So yeah, do you want to go like the guy who's going to play a majority of the game, or do you want to go with the starter who's going to get like one at bat that first
I'm going to go Mitch Garver.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. I'm going to go Cole Young.
Nice.
Just because that feels like that would, we get a million questions.
That would
Cole Young's going to be opening day second baseman, right? Like
that would definitely happen just because we would get a billion questions about
just like
that one moment, meaning that he's now going to make the roster.
Some super wind aided bomb to like left center field. Wind's blowing out at 18 miles an hour.
Apparently, we're going to get StatCast data now at the games that are played in Peoria. I think a lot of the other spring training ballparks are also getting it.
All but like 5 or 6 of the Mariners games will have StatCast data.
Yeah, so we'll have the data to back these things up now.
Yeah. So Cole Young for the is the vibes pick. I'm gonna in terms of actual Mariners, they're gonna be on the 26 man.
Sure.
I'll take Mitch Haniger because he'll give everybody hope.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Haniger's healthy.
No.
Now
they can trade him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was Smod Taylor last year was the first one though. Who is going to be in camp? He is still in New York.
It's true.
So
it's true.
Maybe he does it again, but it's probably going to be somebody if you're just playing the odds, it probably is somebody like Williamson or Young or
what should be like Nick Raposo.
Oh man. What would be the funniest first home runners? I think it might be Cole Young would be the funniest.
Haniger would be pretty funny.
Yeah.
Just after the off-season discourse, that would be funny.
Yeah.
Who would be funny? Nick Raposo would be hilarious.
Julio
Jacob Nottingham.
The sheriff.
Yeah. All right,
Boy.
that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnoda, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.